Good. Welcome, everyone. We're here for the last session of this incredible world marathon that started 23 hours ago in China. The sun is almost ready to rise up here in Italy, and I see the sunset in Hawaii. We are very, very, very glad to end our session with our friend Chris Pezzano in Hawaii. We started this morning in China hosting an opening session together with the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, that is our great partner in this incredible learning journey that we have been organizing today to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. It's a pretty symbolic day, and I thought was positive, I think, to end up this journey in a place where you can really feel the deep connection with Mother Earth. The big topic of this day has been food for Earth, feeding the planet. How might we are gonna feed the world's population tomorrow while protecting also our environment, because this is the only planet we have. And so with Chris, actually, we met each other many years ago, and we have been sharing a lot of experiences, a lot of works, brainstorming, and really trying to see how we can learn from each other and trying to implement in different communities all around the world regenerative business model, really to implement new ways of doing things, changing our mindset, our way of doing the kind of business as usual that have been damaging our world. And we are going to host together also a boot camp in Hawaii, together with the Food and Agriculture Organization, to train young climate shapers, so people able to really impact positively on the environment, starting from caring about our land. So Chris, please join me on stage, because I think that this session is going to be pretty unique and pretty special. And I welcome all of you, and I thank you all for sharing this last hour together with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sara. It's such an honor to be here with you today. And I've also been so honored to have the opportunity to be born and raised on the island of Oahu in Hawaii. And I'm currently representing the Empathy Incubator and have been given this opportunity to partner with the Future Food Institute to create more regenerative communities in Hawaii and to work on evolving a model that can scale community by community around the world. Right now, humanity is at a crossroads. How do we all want to respond to this crisis? It seems that we're being confronted with our relationships to ourselves, to one another, to our community, to the world itself, to the natural world. It's showing the vulnerabilities and the weaknesses in the systems that we've created. And it's highlighted that now is a time to be able to create great change, to create a systems level shift. And I think Hawaii is an especially beautiful place to evolve a model that can truly begin to help every single person, our planet's most vulnerable, and having access to the planet's technologies and resources in a way that we don't lose our culture, that we don't lose what is most precious about being human. Growing up in Hawaii, it's really shown me that globalization is one of the greatest issues facing humanity. There are so many benefits to globalization and technology, but it also leads to apathy. And apathy is one of the greatest issues facing humanity right now. It leads to war, to terrorism, to derisive division. And I think that aloha, or living in a horizontal relationship with gratitude, with all living things, is something that we're given a chance to return to right now. It's a chance to rebuild our relationships with ourselves, and to then have this greater opportunity to reconnect with the whole world. And I feel like aloha is the most precious resource on the earth. It's a way of returning back to harmony with all living things. And I think that food systems is truly the entry point to community resilience. It's the way that we can create the most effective systems for creating sustainable GDP. And every dollar we invest in local food circulates 2 to 4 times in our local economies, because local food businesses do business with other local businesses. And so a lot of my friends and I have been working on creating food security and creating community resilience through a lens of food systems, using the values of aloha to guide our business practices. Because I think the world right now, they're sick of the business models like Amazon, where the employees are they're not being compensated fairly, or Facebook, where our data is in question, and perhaps our governments are being manipulated. And it's time for a shift in technology to embody the values that we also crave. And so with that, I'd love to introduce Kumu Ramsey Tom and Dr. Malia Smith in the Hawaiian Islands, and have been working in food systems and community resilience and wellness in some truly pioneering ways, and trying to reintegrate the heart component, the human relationship, back into technology and business. And so it's my honor to introduce Ramsey Tom to you all right now. Thank you.
Aloha. Thank you, Chris. And joining me is Dr. Malia Smith. And Malia, good to see you as always, and wonderful working together as always. We wanted to do something special as we close out your 24 hours, Sarah, you and your team, to bring us all together as a world, as an island, Earth, as we like to say. So Malia, why don't you bring us in, and then I'll follow you.
As Native Hawaiians, we open with a olika. And what that means is we're asking with humility that we become and we are accepted into this family so that we can participate. And Kumu Ramsey is then going to do a oli komo so that he is accepting us back. Okay? Kumayau he Hawaii e ho ihi e malamaina kuliana e maliu maie
E holuka no kikino a me ka uhan e malama pono kamana ke ola ke kino I kamana va paulo aloha e aloha e aloha aloha in those Chris, in those last words we say we are all unified mind, body, and spirit, and we are unified through all time, not just while we're here today. So when we leave this session, we're all connected, and if anything, this experience is reminding us all that we are all connected. So Malia, mahalo for that.
Mahalo.
Ole kaya. Yeah. Micah, you go ahead and you. I'm gonna let Malia talk first. Yeah, Chris?
Aloha everyone. Mahalo so much for allowing me the opportunity to share with you. I'm going to spend the next few minutes sharing the projects that we have done through Sustain Hawaii. One of the reasons why I'm going to be sharing this is because it's going to create context relative to what Kumu Ramsey is going to be talking about, our vision and our mission to create a self-sustaining, systems-based approach to community. So I'm going to take us all the way back about 7 years ago. Hawaii leaders at that time started pushing food self-sufficiency initiatives because at that time, the objective of our former governor, Neil Abercrombie's New Day plan was to increase the production of locally grown foods to stave off Hawaii's significant dependencies on food importation. So Sustain Hawaii, our nonprofit, I am the board chair. My partner is the founder and Kumu Ramsey is the vice. We were hired to develop a food system metrics platform. We were hired by the Hawaii Department of Agriculture. And one of our deliverables was to include a 175-page literature review on Hawaii's, as well as the national and international food systems. So based on the secondary research collected in this report, we found a lot of information, but we wanted to offer two major suggestions to Hawaii. Number one, it was that Hawaii should accept and adopt the food sovereignty framework. It seemed most inclusive and relevant to Hawaii, of course, because it supported our cultural indigenous practices, the way that we did agriculture, social justice issues, and as well as indigenous epistemology. So, and a myriad of other factors relevant to the stakeholders of the entire food system. So prior to this, Hawaii was using terms like food self-sufficiency and food self-reliance interchangeably, but they didn't realize that there was actually a vast difference between these terms. So we suggested in this report that we, as Hawaii, as people here, should adopt food sovereignty. It made sense to us as its food system framework. Number two, what we suggested was use nutrients as a success metric when measuring our food. Although food availability and food supplies are typically measured by, weight and dollars and land and calories, we felt that food should be measured by nutrients because let's face it, nutrients is the most important thing that allows us to survive and thrive. I mean, we can't compare the nutrient value of 20 pounds of Twinkies compared to like 20 pounds of mangoes. So we knew that Hawaii, like most places, primarily measured its food availability and supplies on weight. So we suggested transitioning away from that model and looking at nutrients as an important factor. Unfortunately, at the time, the report was relegated. Perhaps it's because Hawaii wasn't ready to adopt something like that. I mean, many places in the world weren't ready to adopt those types of modalities and methods. So as the old saying goes, once the genie's out of the bottle, you can't put it back in. And so this inspired Sustain Hawaii to start pushing forward to develop various initiatives. And ones that were, of course, aligned with food sovereignty models, as well as nutrient evidence-based programs. So here's what we've been doing for the past 7 years since that report. And this is all going to kind of weave together. So I hope that you stay with me on this. And all of these components are going to come together to explain where we're going next. So what we did was we opened I Love Nalo restaurant. It is a vegan or plant-based restaurant, as well as our I Love Meal Plan programs. This is really important. In Hawaii, I means food or to eat. The kauna or the hidden meaning means food relative to fruits and vegetables, especially kalo or taro, which is a staple for the Native Hawaiian people. So we felt that I was an important word to add to the name of this mission that we had. One other thing that's really important about this is that we opened it in a food desert in Waimanalo. So Waimanalo has high Native Hawaiian low-income population. And because it's in a food desert, many people told us that we would fail, but luckily we did survive and we actually are thriving. So having that as a place for our Native Hawaiian and low-income people to go to for healthier food options was really, really important for us. Another thing that we did, we also acquired a overgrown, underutilized 20-acre ag parcel and turned that into a regenerative food forest, greenhouse living laboratory is what we call it. It's in the same town of Waimanalo, and appropriately we named it I Love Gardens. Right now we're in the throes of developing a plan whereby the food that's grown at the farm is going to be supplementing the produce needs that we have for the restaurant as well as the meal plan program. And then we also started various social entrepreneurial projects centered around the production of biochar, microbiome research with kombucha, and a progressive web app called Healthies, which is it's a comprehensive evidence-based tool that rewards and incentivizes the consumption of quality and qualified nutrient-dense foods. So those are some of the projects that we have been working on and we have been integrating together. Our last project that we executed in 2019 that we're really, really proud of and is the most recent that we've been working on is called Ha'ehu'ola. It's a wellness program. It's a year-long, holistic, community-based, culturally relevant intervention. And it addresses multiple social determinants of health. The program's fundamental framework is centered around the improvement of self-efficacy. We believe that that's really important in moving people toward a healthier lifestyle. Additionally, the course curriculum, my background, I have a doctorate in education, so luckily I've been able to work on this rather intimately. The course curriculum that we designed is around what we call the 7 interdependencies of health. So we look at the physical, psychological, and financial aspects. So the me aspect of the model, as well as the ecological, sociocultural, and economic, which is the we aspect of the model. And then all of that is encompassed with the most important thing that Native Hawaiians believe in, and that is the spiritual aspect, the aloha part. So all of it is weaved together in this particular program. We address many different aspects concurrently because we believe that optimal health is not only about the individual, but it's rather, it requires us to include as well as consider all things. So our aina, which is land in Hawaii, all living things, all of our animals and whatnot, our community, and then of course our planet. The basic model of Ha'ehu'ola is also executed on what we call the FREE acronym model. And what that stands for is the F. What we do is we provide evidence plant-based foods for all the participants. They receive 2 meals a day, 6 days a week for 12 weeks total. So they get a total of 140 each. That helps us to be able to transition people into a healthier lifestyle, pulling them away from their addictions to salt, sugar, and fats. They get 6 hours of plant-based cooking classes. We take them on grocery shopping huaka'is. What that is field trips. So we take them to shopping centers and stores and grocery stores, and we show them where they can find healthier options there. And then we also do cupboard analyses where we go into their home and we actually look at the foods in their cupboards or in their pantries, and we identify the healthy and non-healthy things. The R in FREE stands for reconnections. And this is very important for us. We feel that the participants have to have an opportunity to connect to their Native Hawaiian values and traditions through cultural practices. So we allow for their participation to come to our 20-acre parcel and plant native trees. We provide them Hawaiian lomi lomi, which is Hawaiian massage. They also attend ho'oponopono, Hawaiian reconciliation healing classes with Kumu Ramsey. They also participate in grounding spiritual meditation walks at our farm. The E in free stands for education, and each participant engages in 20 classes that virtually is every week in the first 2 quarters of the year. And the curriculum covers many different things. We discuss self-efficacy, the habit loop, we look at habitual cues, human needs, the physiological impacts of food choices. They participate in learning about soil health, how to grow their own food. We take them to UH, the University of Hawaii, and they follow soil scientists around and they learn from them. We also put them through financial literacy classes so that they can learn about compound interest and managing their budget and whatnot. And then we also just started, for those that have entrepreneur spirits, we just started a program called Indigenuity that helps individuals start social responsible businesses. And we offer relevant prototyping opportunities to be done at I Love Gardens, which is why we call it a collaboratory. And then the final E is empowerment. This perhaps is probably the most important component, because what it does is it allows our participants to be able to reflect on and even perhaps heal from the historical trauma that many Native Hawaiians have gone through and have faced. And also exploring the values of Native Hawaiians. And then upon completion of the program, after the year's done, each participant becomes a mentor for people who are coming into the program. So then it's building that collective support system where someone that has gone through it will mentor the person that's going through it, because you do go through a lot of struggles, the ups and downs. You face many personal struggles, as well as you start to realize the importance of our value system, Native Hawaiian principles, and how we actually execute and live that way in our daily lives. So, and of course, the most fundamental thing is teaching aloha. And that's one of the magic things that comes from Kumu Ramsey. Some of the examples that I can give you relative to the success of this particular program, our Ha'ihuola Wellness Program, we had a halau. Our sample size was 30 people. Together, they lost about 420 pounds altogether. The average weight loss was 7.4%. A couple of members, 4 members lost an average of 50% of their body weight. 1 member lost 21% of her body weight. Others had significant reductions in their hemoglobin, globin A1C, cholesterol levels, blood pressure. We had a person reduce her A1C from 6.3 when she took her labs in January of 2019. And by the time September rolled around, she was at 5.8, which is almost at a normal level. Another person increased his GFR, kidney disease numbers, by 9 points, which is super, super important. So all of these combined initiatives are interestingly weaving together. And it's weaved into what we are calling the 21st century Ahupua'a system or model. It's a systems-based model that merges Hawaiian values, principles, and practices with Western science and technology. It's an initiative aimed at creating an interdependent, full self-sustaining community. So we're stitching all of these things together to create this self-sustaining community in Waimanalo. So all of these combined initiatives are interestingly weaving into this magical thing that we are creating, what we call the 21st century Ahupua'a system. And Ramsey will go more into detail about that. And what it is, it's a systems-based model that merges Hawaiian values and principles and practices with Western science and technology. It's an initiative that is aimed at creating an interdependent, full self-sustaining community, similar to what our ancestors in old Hawaii practiced. It's this model, this 21st century Ahupua'a model integrates our 7 interdependencies of health, Hawaiian epistemology, as well as cosmology and methodology, and the laws of thermodynamics to optimize the health of our land, of our air, of our water, and animals and peoples. So Ramsey is one of the architects of this mission of our 21st century Ahupua'a model, which is moving into our self-sustaining community model. So there's no better person to discuss this than he. So Ramsey, without further ado, why don't you share about the 21st century Ahupua'a?
Mahalo, Malia. Wow, that's just knowing it, but then hearing it is still amazing. It's amazing how this is going on. But thank you for sharing that with our guests today, because fundamentally, I think the entire message is about going back. And the reality is we can't go back. And I think if there's a message in what we're sharing today is that with COVID and what's going on, I don't think we want to go back anywhere. The practices we're talking about is how do we bring those practices that were helpful and allowed for our kupuna, our ancestors to thrive in the most remote place on the planet. How do you bring that forward and live in a way that is in balance with the environment as well as with one another? And so, Chris, you're talking about aloha. And so fundamentally, what Malia was just talking about is rooted in those principles of aloha, which is really about giving and receiving. Aloha is a reciprocity agreement that says that we don't take more than we need and we always give back regardless of what we may receive. And imagine if we're always giving and receiving, no one will ever be without, including the aina, the land. Right now, we have developed a methodology where we take more, we consume more than we actually plant. We take out of the earth and we put trash back in it. And yet we expect the earth to feed us, which is a little strange. So the concept that Malia is talking about, this Ahupua'a 21st century, is that in this 21st century, is there a way of us reconnecting to our particular places where we live, and more importantly, to the resources who are really our relations, as my friend Daniel Wildcat would say. The creatures of the air, land, and sea are our relations. They were here before us, and they've allowed us to live here with them. And rather than consuming them, having a relationship with them. And, you know, Sarah, I heard someone earlier in the day talk about the words that start with R. And in our case, Malia shared the acronym of FREE, but this notion of R includes redefining our situation, reframing it, and then also understanding how we have to kind of redefine, reframe, and refocus. COVID has helped us to refocus, I think, in many ways. And so the communities that we're talking about, Chris, is not just a local community, but it's a global community. We really look at Earth as being more like an island than a continent. Island Earth. And if that's the case, then we're all islanders. And as islanders living on this island Earth, we're all connected. And therefore, we're all indigenous. We're all indigenous to island Earth. And indigenuity says that if we go back and bring forward the wisdom of our indigenous ancestors, who were able to live in their particular places in the absence of ships and planes, in the absence of the particular delivery systems that are now put all of us, it seems, at risk. The conversations today about delivery systems, about supply chains, what we've learned, if anything else, from looking at our ancestors is by reducing the number of links in the chain, you become much more sustainable. When the producer and the consumer become closer together, your sustainability increases. And so the Nalo Nation principle of taking the community of Waimanalo and reinvigorating it by saying we can produce our food, we can produce our energy, we can produce community together is what Malia is talking about. Fundamentally, if you can grow your own food, you're not connected and you're not codependent upon a system that could fail like it's doing now. If anything, it's reminding us that when the food is closer to us, we want to know where it comes from. Hopefully there's more nutrients in it because it hasn't basically been lost in shipping and delivery and freezing and all those kinds of things. And so fundamentally, we know our food, which is really what our ancestors were all about. This is about relationships. You know, Sarah, someone talked about relationships earlier. If there's a relationship with Earth, it's with our food. If a relationship with our mother, if we go back to when we were first born, when we were first conceived, we took our food from the wombs of our mothers. And fundamentally, COVID has demonstrated to us that we are now eating what we fed mother, who's now feeding us. Right? We're breathing her air that she's breathing. We're eating the food that we fed her. So consequently, we are experiencing the dis-ease, the disorder, and the ailments that Mother Earth is experiencing, because as her children in her womb, we are now breathing her air, eating, drinking her water, and eating her food. So isn't it strange that the dis-ease that is COVID is affecting the lungs and affecting our stomachs and affecting our temperatures? When Earth has been, we've been attacking her lungs, which is the trees, the forests, and the reefs, right? She has a temperature. We have a temperature. We are Mother Earth. We are part of it. And Ahupua'a system, the 21st century, says our relationship to our places, as well as one another, and to our food, is fundamental. This isn't about transactions anymore. It's about relationships. And if there are two R's that I'd like to add to the conversation, those two R's is respect and reverence. To have reverence for our resources, to have reverence for our places, and reverence for one another. And more importantly, to respect that relationship, because that is what's going to shift our behavior. Many of our concepts that we've talked about today, I think in listening to all of our speakers, which was a fascinating gathering, by the way, thank you for doing that, is that in many ways we continue to talk about sustainability from a carrying capacity. What we're doing at Sustain Hawaii is really looking at those values and principles that are really about carrying capacity before carrying capacity. If we care enough about our places, if we care enough about nature, if we care enough about the next person, then carrying capacity is going to be a function of that caring. At the end of the day, what metric are we using to determine success? Is mother healthy? Should be a question, right? Have all the children eaten? Should be the question. Not how much money we made, how much investments improved, but rather, have you eaten? Has everyone been fed? If we can't answer that question, but we can say that we've increased the shares rather than sharing, then all we've done is gone back to a model that perhaps brought us here in the first place. And what Sustain Hawaii is saying, in order for us to move forward, we may have to detach ourselves from the attachments that we've created so far that are founded in the benefits that are strictly transactional versus relational. And if anything, we've learned through this experience that our relationships, that we're all connected. And so Nalo Nation is about saying that if you start in your communities, create safe people, safe places, safe food, safe experiences, every community, one by one, we create a safe island. We create a safe planet. We create a safe Earth. At the end of the day, the metric should be different than it was up to now. And to think that those that brought us here, got us into this situation, are the ones that are going to get us out, perhaps we need to ask ourselves a different question. Let me close with this story, because I know I want to hear from Melinda and our other friends and come back to this. But my grandmother, and I think all of us can relate to our grandmother's stories or aunts. Whenever I went to her house and I walked into the home, she never asked me, how was your day? She didn't ask me how much sales or what I did during the day. Her question was always, are you hungry? Have you eaten? That was her question. And she spent her time while I was there making sure that I was eating. And when I was done, I would say, enough, thank you. She would say, are you sure? Are you sure you had enough? And I said, yeah. She said, good. Then take some home when you leave. The measure of success for her was not how much we did, but whether or not the person sitting before her had eaten. Now imagine, if we as a planet began to ask ourselves those questions at the end of the day, has everyone eaten? Are our grandparents, our kopuna, are they safe? Are our children fed? Are our families healthy? If those become the metrics of success, then Nalo Nation, the Ahupua'a system, is alive and well wherever we are. That's the key. And to think that we moved away from a community of we to a world focused on me. Our conversation is, how do we get back to kako, us, we? We're all in the same canoe, and we all got to paddle together. These are the concepts and principles that are fueling the conversation that we're having at Waimanalo. And we're hoping will fuel all conversations and communities on island Earth, because we're all indigenous to this place. We're all related. This is aloha. Aloha is to give and to receive, and never forget to give back when we receive something, and never expect anything more than we need. This is the fundamentals to aloha. So Chris, thank you for allowing us to share this with our communities around the planet, because we're all related. Yeah. We are what we eat. Think about that. We are what we eat. And if we eat something out of a chem lab, or if we eat out of the original pharmacy called the forest, that's different. We are what we eat. Malama pono, aloha, aloha, aloha. More later. Thank you, Malia. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sarah.
Wonderful to have those reminders in this important time. And I feel that the Sustain Hawaii group truly embodies the values of aloha in their work and all the things they try to do in the community. And so many of the things that Ramsey and Malia have shared today have resonated so deeply with me. And I feel like right now, if we're going to meet the world's needs in these crises, we have to come up with new solutions, with new models. The old models won't be applicable anymore. Those solutions are outdated. And so right now, I think the only way forward is through radical collaboration. It's through radical trust and transparency. And I think creating a model around cooperation where all of the finest technologies and tools and resources can come together safely and fairly be compensated for the value that they provide the global community. That's an opportunity to create a system that can not only be replicated community by community, but then can also provide a framework for re-indigenizing these technologies with the values and the cultures that are so dear to our hearts. And our hope here in Hawaii is that we can evolve a system that preserves culture, that preserves food security, that preserves our local businesses and relationships rather than eroding them. So with that in mind, I'd love to share a few stories from Melinda Forman, who is an incredible light in the community of Orchidlands on the island of Hawaii. And she's been helping with organizing farmers and fishermen and helping to make sure that the sounds of the farm in the background, but ensuring that the fishermen and the farmers are able to connect with our population's most vulnerable, and to make sure that everyone's needs in the community are met, and that it is, truly a canoe that we're all paddling together. And we're only as strong as our weakest link, as we're seeing in the world right now. So it's a wonderful honor to be able to share Melinda with you all. She's such a blessing in Hawaii and also in my life.
Mahalo. Mahalo, everyone. Can you all hear me? Thank you so much for this opportunity to join this meeting. It is really, really important. So I am in the Orchid Land states and on the Puna side east side of the Big Island. And We have a farmer's market in Orchid Land, and I am part of the committee. We started with a harvest share about 2 years ago, and that's just bringing the farmers, artisans in the community. We started just talking and talk story and sharing food, and then it turned into a farmer's market. And I was asked to be in the social committee. So now, last month, we just got approval from the state for, we applied for the 501c3 nonprofit. And this is to build the Orchid Land Community Association agricultural place for all of us to meet as a community. And what the community wanted was, and I'm just reading from my notes, is to have a monthly market, to create a social gathering place and a home for our association meetings, a venue for public and private events, and a cultural center spotlighting pre-contact Hawaiian culture's knowledge of growing food on our volcanic landscape. And over here in Puna, and I live on street named Pohaku Drive, means rock. So that means we don't have soil. So what I'm doing now is actually creating or making, someone is helping me making good, high, nutritious soil, because I really believe that with healthy soil, that's where it starts, then we can have healthy plants. And with those healthy plants, we'll have healthy people. So healthy soil equals healthy plants equals healthy people. And I really like what Malia said about the highly nutritious, instead of doing it by weight, let's take a look at food and let's take a look at the nutritive value of that food, where it was grown. So in our Orchid Land, small Orchid Land community, we've had the devastating lava flows of 2018. Our streets get flooded during the hurricane season, and when we just get a lot of rain, because on this side of the island, it rains a lot. We have beetles killing our beloved ohia trees. Of course, we have so many common garden pests, and now we have a pandemic. But there is one thing for sure, our Orchid Land Community Association remains steadfast. E ola, it means to live, to spare, save, heal, grant life, survive, and thrive. So we're also using food as medicine with La'au Lapa'au. I just finished some training, and I'm still learning a lot with La'au Lapa'au. So what's happening with that is really sharing the knowledge and really learning a lot from kumus around the island about the benefits of our medicine plants that's growing around the land. We also want to really encourage our farmers and fishermen, our bakers, artisans. The whole community is really uniting together. It's amazing because we're doing this on Zoom and really using the power of technology now, using Instagram and Facebook to really advertise your products. And in our community, you don't even have to go, I mean, you can just go down the hill, and then we have farmers, because the farmers markets are now closed. We now have farmers actually selling their food on the side of the road or in front of their house. I have a farm stand in front of my house, and I started selling seedlings because the stores, Ace and Home Depot, those big box stores, are actually out of seeds and out of soil. So now I'm selling seedlings, and really the neighbors appreciate it, and I would go deliver. I started a bartering system, which it's really fun to do. We have people who have honey and eggs, and in one street, I was down one day, no contact, just down on 39th Avenue, and just picking up eggs and delivering vegetables. And we have the also the box, which is a food system here for kupunas. So I'm trying to get involved in that also, so we can really find the kupunas who need that help in the community, who are living alone or need some help with shopping. So I'm planning to get involved in that, and I have some friends who are organizing that as well. So, so that's what we are doing in our little place in the Puna district. And again, our fishermen are hurting. So what they're doing, they're going house to house, or they're selling their fish on the side of the road, and then they would just put it out there on Facebook, and I would go down and support and buy my bag of fish. So really we are in this together, as my Kumu Mahialani would say. Paddle the canoe, get on the canoe, and let's keep going. Let's keep working together and collaborating together, and really take care of each other and take care of our Aina, Malama Aina. Aloha, mahalo for this opportunity.
And to share what's going on in Orchidlands right now. It's been so inspiring to learn about your journey and to hear about the ways that you've been passing along information and sharing the benefits of plant medicines and food medicines and making sure that they're always present in your community market, so that all the local community members coming to purchase food and fresh produce can learn about all the benefits of the foods and medicines that they're buying. So it's always just been so inspiring for me and so important in the community. When I first got involved in food systems on Hawaii Island, I was just shocked. When I was first connecting with several of the markets, I would just be in the parking lot about to go inside, and I would usually see several farmers coming to the market and then being turned away. And I couldn't understand what was going on. And they would have boxes of avocados and other produce, and they would tell me that they had an order confirmed, and then they would drive an hour and a half or 2 hours across the island to get to the market. And then another farmer, grower, would have just offloaded their produce at 25% of the price, maybe just 5 minutes before. And that produce was generally stolen, which is why it was so heavily discounted. And just being able to see how horribly this was affecting our food system, and how farmer after farmer were just going out of business because of the issues with inventory and orders and not being able to have the confirmations in place before they spent the day away from their families, away from their farms, away from their livelihoods to make these deliveries. And so I saw that technology could really be a way forward for Hawaii and for the world if the right values were utilized, and people were able to control their own data and how it's shared and with whom, and that they could potentially receive the financial benefit for providing more information about how we could help their business more with sales or processing or insurance, and just trying to act as a community concierge and support system. So now it's even more critical that we bring together a toolkit for resilience, because now that the farmers that did have value chains and markets and orders that were regular, all of a sudden they have to switch their distribution and move their food away from the restaurants and the hotels, now direct to consumer, or maybe through a food hub or a CSA. And so there's so much need for a transition right now. And farmers are you know, they have to be so many things. They have to be biologists and chemists and meteorologists and so many things, and generally pretty good gamblers as well. But they you know, they have to deal with so many issues to be able to create the food that sustains us all. And so rather than having to devote their lives to researching all of the technologies around the world like I have, what I've been hoping to do is to bring together groups like Sustain Hawaii into a cooperative where growers and food businesses, restaurants, food processors, distribution companies can have all the tools and resources that they need in one place where they control their data. And I hope that that collaborative model is something that could allow drones and aeroponic systems that are now able to create food at 1/400th of the cost of a traditional farmer to be brought into communities as a tool and as a resource that all of the growers own, and that it's an extra revenue stream to help boost everybody in the community. So perhaps one day all of the growers could have their own robot fleets that are helping them with their weeding and making sure that they're getting, you know, the highest possible health in their soil. So my hope is that we can utilize all the amazing innovations of the 21st century without losing what we love about the past, without losing our connection to the land, without losing our cultures. So I've just been so honored to have this chance to work with Sara and to see her beautiful vision for the world and for food security to become manifested, and for us to have this chance to collaborate on a global scale. So thank you all so much for being here together with us.
So let me say that through all your 4 voices, I've been really feeling like the essence of all the sharings that were with us since this morning. So actually this event is connected to also another project that we are running that is called the goodaftercovid19.org. And in this process, we are now highlighting how much is crucial to identify which are the values that we want to bring in our new world. And also we came to the point to understand that we need to redefine trust. And in redefining trust, we need to trust in science, both also. We need to trust in spirituality, and we need to bring spirituality back. And we need to improve reciprocity in all our relationships. Of course, it's not an easy challenge, the fact of spreading this mindset everywhere in the world. Also because every single country has different social patterns, different stories, different identities, different cultures. And actually today, we have been seeing that, touching that. Even if it was a virtual world tour, actually we did that. We started in China, and then Japan, and then India, and then Singapore, Morocco, Ethiopia, Saudi Arabia, Russia, and then different countries around Europe, Latin America, again, different countries represented around Latin America, North America, Canada. And now we are landing in a place that is really highlighting and showing us how all of those insights that we are getting actually can really become a reality, and how much you are testing in your community all the things that we are saying. So really, I thank you so much for that. And I think that this sharing has been the best summary of all the interesting thoughts and learning that we have been collecting during these days. Today, we have been hearing more than 100 voices, all different ages, different backgrounds, from young farmers to very senior professors, policymakers, ambassadors, UN people working on talking about food security and hunger, food security and wars and conflicts, and all of those very relevant issues. But then I think that we were all agreeing that this is the way how we think that we can tackle sustainable development goals that are a perfect framework, but we need to add to the sustainable development goals that are telling us also a series of new KPIs, and it's a very simple design to understand. We know that we need to bring values and attach values to this beautiful design and really bring spirituality back and reconnection, because this is the only way on how we can really save our Mother Earth. So really, thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much, Sara, and it's such a joy and honor to be here with you and to share my friends with you in the world. And with everything you just said, I'd love to have Ramsey share some closing remarks and to end our session Hawaiian style.
Aloha.
Aloha, mahalo, Chris. And again, Sara, thank you for this wonderful day for all of us, to bring us together, really, to remind us that like the sunrise behind me, the sunrise you sing, it is a new day. Yeah, it is a new day. We're beginning a brand new time together, and that's what's important. Now, normally we do a pule, a prayer to say thank you, but maybe these words can satisfy that same need. Malia, if you would allow me to do this, yeah? We've ended this tour in a place called Hawaii. The word itself captures everything we've been talking about. When you say the word Hawaii, you're acknowledging the one thing that connects us all: air. Ha. Ha is the life-giving breath, not just any breath, but the breath that gives us life. And as we spend time arguing about land and about common ground, COVID has reminded us that it's the air that connects us. We can put boundaries, we can put borders on land. We can stand in different places, but fundamentally, air is what we share. From the time you breathe it, when you come to the planet, and the time you leave, we never own it. We can only share it. In the very first word, ha, vai, the air. The second word talks about vai, the fresh water that is life-giving. So ha-vai is the air that gives life and the water that gives life. In the absence of either, there is no life. And we must care for the air, the space that we share with one another. We must care for the water that we serve one another, whether that water is food, meaning the nutrition, as Malia is talking about. Care for what we serve others, care for what we eat, care for the atmosphere and the spaces that we occupy and share. And fundamentally, and finally, the letter I. The word E talks about the spiritual essence of all things, the creative energy that created you, me, this place, and the places that we share. It is about relationships. So in the very word that brought us full circle to this end of this wonderful day, Hawaii, honor the air, honor the water, honor your relationships. And wherever you do that in the world, if you can do that, you are Hawaii. You don't have to come here to the middle of the sea to acknowledge the spirit that is you and me. We are all in this together. We are all in the same canoe. And thank you for being the navigator of today's canoe trip around planet Earth. Yeah. Till the next time we're in the same lagoon, mahalo for allowing us to sail with you today. Ahuiho, aloha. Be well, everyone. Yeah. Mala mopono, as we say.
Thank you. I would love to connect with you and shake your hands and hug you. Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you. Malia, Chris, Melinda, ahoyo, aloha.
Chris, you are a real catalyst of good. And every time we connect, there's something amazing happening. So thank you so much, Chris, for bringing all of us together. This has been a great gift. Thank you. We can